Charleston, please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew, the first time he knew his neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank. And, he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, hey, do you know why this branch is closing? And she was like, are you here to make a deposit or a withdrawal? And he was like, withdrawal. And she was like, yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking. I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been broke off and on my entire life, and there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, you sure? I'm talking about where you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places, and you'll see the brand of the meat, and then you'll see, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, when you shop at a dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy this soldier, and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these Crayola crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But it was Stretch Arm. It would only stretch for like 3 days. You only got 3 good. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt, and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox, because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire, because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat, and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost here. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all. Y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. You know? And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? You know, that's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox, because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know? There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? You know, word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not going to be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming. Recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready, batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. And the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. There are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me. Like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back. But I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door and it's like, hey, this older guy. And he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit. And as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out, because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Because I can tell, we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it because it's not like it was one person. Do you know what I mean? Like, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. Like, it's weird that there was a chute for the laundry because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of like bug poison down it to try to kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, like it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, you too? And Both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this like short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like, it was a house, but it was like, you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay, the house I was living in was like perfectly split in two, right? To make two unlivable houses. Okay, so I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just two completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, I saw that you just moved in. She had baked something, like old school, like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little something, some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move, so this is for you, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you so much. And she was like, yeah, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall. And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time. And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I closed the door and I sat in silence for the rest of the night. Waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird, animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're going to build community than you're going to become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. You know, because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. Rich people, the rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah, I got to maintain, you know, I got kids, I got to. And then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're going to get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. You know? Like, a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir, they're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends, and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be, and the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not only not a fan, I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back, I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming, you're drowning, and it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after, we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. Do you know what I mean? Like and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know? So then, you know, man saves me. And my buddy pulls me out of the water. And now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody. You know what I mean? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I try to help out the people, you know, when doing my best. And it's like, also, my man didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, and he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunked me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know. I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... Then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. You have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. Then I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend was over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, "Oh, Josh, you must not mind the rain." And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not going to make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid, and she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together, and so we were a 2-income household, so I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. It's like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my Sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his Sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the Sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old.
This is one that this is one that really hurt to watch. This was actually painful, so just stick with me, okay? Because I'm gonna.
This is the falling off the ladder of of sales stories.
Oh yeah, I watched a guy pitch a pyramid scheme at a funeral.
Oh, this is delicious. Tell me everything. Do not spare a single detail.
So hopefully I tell it all in order, because this is also years ago. But
I don't even care if you tell it in order. I just want all of it. I want all the bad from this.
So I was at this funeral, and this...
Are you willing to say whose funeral? Was it like close family member?
No, it was not a close family member. I was actually just there for moral support because it wasn't my relative.
I was just there to sell something else.
I was out there selling hope. You know how it is.
Yeah.
No, so basically...
Hey, I saw these people in suits. I was just like, now these people got money. All right,
Yeah.
I'm going to follow them, see where they're going.
Look, if you can afford a suit, you can afford...
Yeah, where we going? We going to a club or something? Oh, never mind.
So basically, I was there for a friend because his uncle had passed away, right?
Okay.
And so the person selling, though, actually was a family member. So I was just there, for my friend, just to be nice and everything. And this guy, so we're at the cemetery.
Oh, it's at the cemetery. I thought in my head I was picturing
Like a
funeral home.
No,
but this is
he waited. He waited until he would have a captive audience. You know, he wasn't gonna interrupt the pastor and be rude. You know, he wanted to go ahead and wait until
he said he's going to do it when the dirt's getting thrown on the casket. Is when he's going to choose his moment.
right after. You know, right after. So this dude.
Oh man.
This dude is standing there, and there's like a somber moment where everyone's silent, and his son says, yeah, I'm just really gonna miss him. And then I'm standing there with my friend and everything, and then this guy, who I assume must be a cousin or something, because it didn't seem like anyone was excited that he was there.
You'd hope. You don't want it to be the deceased brother.
Yeah, yeah. And so then he goes, yeah, I just wish he could have been all he could be. And already people are like, wow, that was a little like, I didn't know you had a problem with him or something, right?
Yeah.
And then people are starting to walk away because the service is over. So now people are walking back to their cars and stuff, and we're all going to meet back up at this person's house for the, post funeral. Everyone eats and sits and talks. And he's like, yeah. Pitches stuff. And he's like, yeah, I tried to get him in on a really big opportunity before he went. And
keep going.
And, it just, I mean, I guess it's better this way because at least he won't know what he missed, And at this point, this is someone who is either a full-blown monster or really believes in their pyramid scheme.
Yeah. I'm glad he's dead so he can't see the riches I'm gonna make.
And so then I don't know who this other person is, but an older person goes, I'm sorry.
Because that's a reasonable response in this situation.
And so he's like, I'm sorry, what the hell are you talking about? And then this dude in full pitch mode goes, opportunity.
Yes. Shit, I'm in. What are you selling?
And so,
man, the confidence of that. Oh my God.
So then the person who said, I'm sorry, what the hell are you talking about? Grabs him by the back of the neck. And I don't know what he said, but he whispered something harrowing into his ear. And the dude doesn't say another word. Everyone just walks back to their cars, and then we get in the car and drive off to the house, right?
Yeah. Sorry.
And so, so then we get to the house, and everyone's piling out of their cars, and some people are staying outside the house and smoking, and then some people are inside the house, and people are getting the food heated and stuff. And so everyone's just sort of sitting about talking about the person who passed away, which, once again, I don't know this person that well. I'm just there for my friend, right? Mm-hmm. And then the guy walks in, the pitch guy walks in looking around, like his eyes are sort of darting around and everything, like clearly looking for whoever grabbed him by the back of the neck, right?
Right, yeah.
And
looking for the man who clearly said, I will kill you.
Yeah, yeah. And then when he sees that the coast is clear, he walks up to this older woman and is like, it's times like these that remind you to just, take your chances where you can get them.
Oh, no.
You know, you really just got to shoot for the stars, because if you miss, you'll land amongst the clouds, you know. And I'm just happy that, you know, seeing everything that went down today, I'm just happy that I'm investing my money and my life into opportunity. And so I'm just like, wow, when is this guy gonna say whatever because it's all platitudes, man. It's all like just consistent, like trying to rope people in, but he's clearly not good at it.
Yeah.
And so
clearly he got wrapped into it and no one had said what they were selling to him.
Yeah. So now he's just out there trying to sell product that exists, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
And so then he tells her, he's like, I'm a part of something special, and I really want you to be in on it with me, you know? Just for just a...
Will you marry me?
Right? You would think, because he's really ramping up, and it's like all ask and no setup. Like it's a bunch of platitudes, and then he just goes for it. And so then he's like, I really want you to be in on it with me. And then this woman goes, okay, what is it? And he's like, it's the future. All right. It like still won't say what it is. And so he's like,
oh my God, this is so good.
And so he's like, it's the future. And I mean, would you rather $400 right now or $40,000 a year from now? And then she goes, are you in a cult? She completely skipped pyramid scheme. I was like, you in a cult? What you talking about?
That's great.
And so you see his face just drop, and then he just moves on to the next part. This is how bad he is at selling, is he doesn't even like have a dismount. He literally just stops talking to her and walks over to another person. Yeah. So then I don't see him for a good 30 minutes or an hour or something. Like, I'm just mingling with my friend and meeting one other person. And so I'm just talking and stuff, and then I'm actually about to leave when he like resurfaces. I guess he was working the back of the house. Like, we stayed in the general like living room area and stuff. And then some people from outside start coming inside. And so I guess he starts trying to work them too. And goes up to this very old man who is clearly like,
next?
Yeah, like because you know how they always bring, there's at least one person at the funeral that's way older than the person that passed away.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at the casket.
You're like, oh, that's the Highlander there. Okay. There can be only one.
They're looking at that casket different. All right. And so he starts talking to this really, really old man who's honestly not even like registering. Like, I'm not even, you know, sometimes when people are especially like in their 80s and 90s, they get a little bit vacant, you know? Right. And so he's giving this dude the whole spiel, and this guy's not interrupting him or anything or looking at him quizzically. So he thinks he's on a roll with this older dude, right? Who is clearly somebody's grandpa.
Yeah. Or just can't hear him at all. Like, the old guy is just like, his hearing's gone. Just
so then he gives him like a long, you know, classic pyramid scheme speech about like, be part of my I think he called them
opportunity, my movement,
I think he called them clusters. He's like, if you're in my cluster, you know, my kickback is only 5%. A lot of people in their kickback, they have 10.
If you're in my glory triangle, you.
And so then the guy,
if you're in my success octagon, you and I can make so much money a year.
It can't be a pyramid because it's an octagon.
Exactly.
So,
but like, one of the points is a little higher than the others.
It's also a little wider at the bottom.
Yeah.
So then he finishes his whole little spiel, and this old man with this old voice goes, "If you don't get out of here with that bullshit." And almost right after this old man says, "If you don't get out of here," the guy from before, the guy from like the cemetery, is like screams across the room, screams, "What did I tell you? What did I tell you?" And then walks up to that dude, grabs him in the back of the neck again, and just walks out with him to the backyard, where I am assuming that he beat the hell out of him.
Where he is now buried to this day. Wow.
Right?
Here's the thing. This man is just a social terrorist with what he has done. I do, though, weirdly admire the confidence to show up to a funeral I don't even know if he's close to him or not, but to show up to a funeral and be like, "This is where I'm going to make my nut, man. This is where I'm really going to... This is where I'm going to make a killing." I weirdly admire that horribly misguided confidence.
I mean, they already parted with their cousin. What's parting with a little bit of money?
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe everyone here's got some inheritance now that they can they can throw my way.
Come on, you know Willie left you something.
Yeah. He left you this, but what I'm giving you is an opportunity.
Oh.
That's fucking amazing. That's such a good story.
I mean,
that's so good.
As Ludacris says, Jesus saves and I withdraw.
This is a beautiful, beautiful time of year. This is my favorite time of year because it's so fresh. I could do anything. I could really be anybody so far, you know? And by January 10th, I'm like, I'm me. Never mind. I had a lot of plans, but a week and a half. It's so early in the year, it's almost weird if you've already had a bad day. You know what I mean? But this is New York, so you know somebody has. I was on a bus on January 2nd and just heard a guy go, "Fuck!" just to himself. I don't know what was going on in his life. But January 2nd, he was like, "It's over. That's a wrap." Oh, it's crazy. I also love this time of year because it's the last little bit of runoff where you're still trying to return Christmas presents. Like the bad ones. Like you on the phone with customer service, like, "No, I have the receipt, please." Like it's... And this is the thing. A lot of people give gifts and everything, but they don't know if they gave a good gift to the person, especially if they don't know them well, right? And my thing is, this is how you tell if it's a good gift in this present day we live in. If you didn't get a gift for someone from a store that was looted in 2020, that's not a good gift. I'm not gonna lie. Do you know what I mean? It's a very easy metric now. Because, look, I'm just saying, everything's free when we looting. And there are brands that know that they didn't get touched. Like, honestly, if I was a shop owner, I would be embarrassed if I showed up the morning after a riot and I get to my store, Nike store ransacked, Louis Vuitton store unrecognizable, and then my store pristine, not even broken glass. I'd be like, I gotta hang it up. I didn't know it would be like this. Can I burn it down and say it was part of the riot? Because this is a shame. I remember that was a very specific time. This is my favorite thing about any riot that happened in the U.S. in 2020. There were some stores that boarded up that really didn't need to bother. Like, nobody talks about that, but there are a couple places that were like, "Oh, we gotta batten down the hatches." Like, no, you really don't. I promise. Nobody is checking for you. Okay. There were brands that were feeling themselves. Like, I don't know if you remember this, but you can look this up. This is a real thing that happened in 2020 during the protests. there were sweet greens that boarded up in preparation. Sweet green. I want to meet the person who made the decision. I want to meet the person who was like, all right, it might get crazy out here in Seattle. And you know it when it gets crazy. You know what niggas love is arugula. So we got to hold it down, all right? Got to protect the inventory, okay? Oh, no. You don't need to bother. You know, I said all that to say if you got me a Christmas present this year, a gift card from Sweet Green, you fucked up. That wasn't the move. You bought me grass. Oh. Have y'all been watching that Squid Game show? Okay, if you haven't watched it, then genuinely, I'm begging you, don't watch it. Okay, if you don't know what Squid Game is as a show, Squid Game, the show is a Korean drama. All right. It's probably one of the best TV shows that we have that fully encapsulates the idea of capitalism and what we do to each other when we're lacking, when we have need, and when there's literal money floating over our heads, the links that will go, right? And even the show becoming a show is a Cinderella story because the guy that wrote it, he pitched it around the world for 10 years and nobody wanted it. Finally, Netflix bought it. They put it up on their platform. It became an international sensation. There's games, there's toys, there's everything. And then they made the game show, which is weird. That's pretty odd, because that means they also watched the show and they saw what a commentary it was on the human psyche when it comes to money, when it comes to access and everything. And then they were like, yeah. We should do that. Yes, we should do that. Let's round up these pores and make them battle it out. We'll get 400 of the saddest stories you've ever heard in your fucking life. It's insane. And this is the other reason that I'm begging you not to watch it. Okay? In the show Squid Game, the Korean drama, when you lose, you die. In the game show, when you lose, a pack goes off. It explodes on you. And it's black. It's not red. It's ink. Squid Game. Very clever. And it explodes. But they still make the people fall like they died. And it feels like they test running killing a person in front of us. Do you know what I mean? Because when I was watching the show, the first person lost and then they fell. And I was like, that's a little dramatic. All right. And then 12 more people fell. And I was like, wait, are they really killing people on my TV right now? Because if they are, I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Because they already shot the show and I'm at home. But can we make sure that for season 2, they don't kill anybody? Because I'm going to finish the show. It's compelling. But it's just a weird thing. I don't know. It's very unsettling because they make all these people tell the saddest parts of their life and they cut to them in the show and you know they're not going to win. Why are you telling me this is a physical American Idol? Why are you telling me the sad story and you know they're not going to get far? That's terrible. It would be a dude with the biggest tearjerker you could ever imagine. He's like, I'm just want to bring money back home for my cousin. He's got cancer herpes and he doesn't have a real house. He got half a house. So I want to pay for him to finish his house because he get rained on anytime it rains sideways a little bit. And so I just want to have a full roof for him to be under, not half a roof, because he really got like half an umbrella over his head right now. And so I just want to do something nice for him because he donated a bunch of his bones to orphans. And so he already didn't have a good life to begin with. And then they zoom out of the person playing the game and you see he's the shortest man that's ever lived. You're like, he's not gonna get far at all. Physical limitations alone. Why are you getting me attached to his story? Or even worse, they'll interview like a smart woman and you'll be like, they not gonna let her get far at all. She gonna slip up and say a big word in front of him and the dumbs are gonna jump on her. She gonna say one of those encyclopedia words that be like, get her out. She look like she can do puzzles. No, so jarred. Are y'all also following this Gypsy Rose thing? Okay. In case you don't know anything about Gypsy Rose, I'll try to bring you up to speed as quickly as possible. Gypsy Rose is a young woman, used to be girl. She was a girl when all this happened. Her mom has Munchausen by proxy, so her mom convinced her she was sick, convinced everyone else she was sick, told people she was sick, raised money for her because she was so sick. So she was like GoFundMe before GoFundMe, right? And so she was like raising all this money and everything. Then Gypsy realizes, hey, I'm not as sick as you're making me out to be. Around the same time that this happens, right? She makes a friend online. They start dating. That becomes her boyfriend, okay? And then she tells her boyfriend, you need to kill my mom so we can be together. I was not in the room when this conversation happened. But the way that I think it went was Gypsy gets close to this person and is like, you're going to have to kill my mom so we can be together. And then he said, I was planning on killing somebody anyway. Because it took so little convincing. This man is clearly out of his mind, right? Killing a mom should be several conversations. You should have to wear me down to kill your mom. If you tell someone, I need you to kill my mom so we can be together, and they go, yup, you are also in danger. That is absolute insanity. He said yes so quick. That's the reddest flag there is. He said it so quick. Once again, I was not in the room, but he agreed to it so fast. I'm pretty sure he finished her sentence. I'm pretty sure she was like, hey, I need you to. He's like, kill your mama, I got it. And she was like, I was going to say pass the remote, but okay. And so then that's what happens. They meet up, and then he kills the mom, and then they get caught immediately. They get caught so fast. I was genuinely disappointed in them. I was like, you couldn't make it a day. You got caught. They got caught so insanely quickly. And so then they're not together anymore because then they flipped on each other and everything. And it's hard to stay together when you first 48'd each other. Like, but you just immediately like, it was his crazy ass. I said it at once and he did it. And so then Gypsy got way less time than him, and she got out. She's out now. She got like 7 years. He got life because I'm pretty sure she only had to remind him once. I'm pretty sure she only had to be like, hey, that thing about killing your mama, yeah, it's on my calendar. All right. And look, I'm just saying, the main thing that they did wrong, besides killing a person, the main thing that they did wrong is that they didn't really understand the internet the way we don't really understand the internet. So all they did was have the most incriminating conversations online, right? I'm pretty sure they Skyped at one point. I was like, can you stop doing recordable stuff? And so then she gets out, and I saw like a TikTok of her, wishing everybody well, thanking everyone for wishing her well and everything, saying Happy New Year's. And then she said something interesting to me. She was like, I'm spending New Year's with my dad, my stepmom, and my husband. I was like, husband? And I was just shocked. I didn't know she had a husband. So I looked into it, and she had met somebody, and they got married in 2022. And I looked him up. Have y'all seen the husband? Yeah. Y'all seen? Okay. That man looks more like the Kevin James meme than Kevin James. I was genuinely blown away. There's a picture of him with Gypsy Rose where he's like, and it's not even a diss. That's just his swag, is that like cheeky, everything. And then apparently some people were coming for him online for some weird reason. I have no idea. And then Gypsy came to his defense, and she was like, it's okay, baby. They're just jealous because the D is fire. You know what? I'm glad you had a happy ending. I'm glad you're okay.
I've been watching the newest season of Love is Blind with my girl. This is the thing about that show, right? I think the show is, in theory, a good idea, right? What if by chance we got out of our own way, right? Because most of dating is swipes now. Like a good portion of how people meet is dwarfed. Online dwarfs every other version of meeting. Like meeting at a bar, meeting at work, all this stuff like that. Meeting online is way, way bigger. So a big part of how we feel about each other and how we feel about ourselves when it comes to dating is completely and totally dictated by bots. I know we don't think it's bots, but it is. Like, most of these platforms are flooded with bots because if they can keep you on the platform, they keep your money, right? So better to have a couple bots entertain you and waste your time for a little bit so you think that something's going somewhere while maybe you work it out with a real person or maybe not. But either way, we've got your money. It's like a gym membership, right? You ever try to cancel a gym membership? I remember I had a gym membership. That's one of the few things that seems obscure that like Biden was trying to get on that I was really excited about. Because the Biden administration was basically like, anything that took your credit card for you to start the membership should be just as easy to get out of, just as easy to opt out of, right? Because there are some things that aren't. There were a lot of gyms back in the day where you could go up there and sign up that day, all right? And then be like, okay, I'm a member of this gym and I'll buy 5 months outright because you're doing 2 months free or whatever. So I'll be a member for 7 months. That's most of the year. I gotta get sexy by then. And so you do this like 5-month fee and maybe you do it in one lump sum or maybe they keep charging your card every month at some discount or whatever. But then at month 6, you're like, it's not working. I keep coming once a week and pushing 3 things and nothing is changing. I don't think I'm gonna get sexy on the right timeline. And I don't wanna be a member of this gym for 40 years, so you know what? I'm gonna cancel it. I'm gonna cancel my membership. And so then you go there, and this happened to me. You go to the gym, and you're like, I would like to cancel my membership. And at first they try to fight you. First they're like, no, you were just getting sexy, dog. We all noticed it. There was one day we were changing the towels. We were like, damn, I remember when he came in January. It's March. What a difference. And I'm like, I'm flattered, but I don't feel very sexy. And the scale says I weigh the same. So I'd like to cancel my membership. And they're like, dang, dog, I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. You know, we love having you around and everything. And like, you know, it's just your presence lights this place up. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we see you, dog. We see you when you struggling, when you struggling to do that clean and snatch. You know what I mean? When you got the bar here and you trying to Whenever you're doing this, we laugh. It's such a great day. We gonna miss you, man. You sure you want to do this? Yeah, I gotta do it. I gotta end my membership. And they're like, okay, all right. Well, it's a shame because you can't end your membership here. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, we don't do that here. I'm like, what do you mean? This is where I came to start my membership. This is where I exercised my membership. How can I not end my membership? No, there's a whole process and everything, you know. So basically, you gotta write a letter saying like how you're not sexy and stuff, and then you gotta mail that letter. Okay, you gotta mail that letter to our headquarters. Our headquarters will then let us know. And also, you can't just mail it to the headquarters. You also have to call in and be like, guys, I don't want to be sexy anymore. And then you have to call before your letter gets to the headquarters, because if it gets there first, it sort of invalidates your call. So you have to make sure you call, and it's best to call while the person at HR at headquarters is holding your letter. I know you won't have any idea when that is, but try. Just call a lot, call consistently until maybe you call and they're holding it and they're like, oh, is this you? Yes, it's me. I would like to never be sexy. And so then And so then what they'll do is they'll call us, and we still won't cancel it. We'll just know that you're a quitter. And so then after they call us, we will call the department, which is a third party that actually handles our memberships, and tell them to take you off of the mailing list, just the mailing list. But eventually, once you've been off the mailing list for long enough, we'll stop charging your card. This seems like it should be illegal. Because it's a process that sounds like it's going to take years. There was such a long process, and then they said I was no longer a member. I had stopped going, and then I saw where they still charged me. I called them, and that called them at the gym, and they were like, no, you got to call headquarters. So I called headquarters, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and then someone finally got on the line being like, hey, I was about to take my break. Because the whole plan there is just to frustrate you so much so that you end up keeping it. Because what they want you to do is to still have it, and it's so hard to get rid of that eventually you go one day, and as soon as you go, you've basically renewed your membership and everything. They just want any way possible to squeeze as much money out of the people that are going, right? And so that's one of the things that Biden was like, oh, we gotta stop this, you gotta make it clickable. You know what I mean? You gotta make it just so that, did you click to start the membership? You should click to end the membership. It's like, wow, what a novel concept. You know what I mean? That's the type of thinking that comes from a man who doesn't have a lot of time to mess around. You know what I mean? He's like, let's get right to it, But that's what the dating platforms do. They just don't want you to cancel, right? And they've come up with tiers. They've come up with little systems to get extra money out of you. Super swipes, double super swipes, thirst trap swipe. All these little ways that maybe you can find someone. And even when you find someone, you're not finding someone. You're just allowed to start a conversation now. And so what if we got out of our own way? What if that really happened? Where people who genuinely wanted to find someone and didn't want to have any barriers on them, any sort of expectations or even some of their own preferences, right? Just wanted to get to know a person just as they are, right? We're just going to talk. And what if we talked for so long, so many times, that we covered the amount of talking that it usually takes people in the real world months to cover? Because you know what it's like. You go on that first date. That first date is all surface level, if it's even true. It's like I try to be myself. I want everybody to feel comfortable being themselves. But as long as we're lying, we're lying. You know what I mean? If you're going to lie, I got to lie. I can't just show up being vulnerable and then you lie and then I look like a monster. So yeah, if you're going to lie, then I got to lie, You're going to lie about the degree you have. I got to lie about having a job. I just got to make sure that we fit each other's, each other's lies. And then you get to the truth. And sometimes truth is very disappointing because sometimes, whether it's your fault or of no fault of your own, you've built up an idea of who a person is, and that idea of who they are sometimes trumps the person that you see in front of you. So then you see the real person after when you can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? One of the things the police used to do back when everybody was writing checks and check fraud was this big thing because people con artists would get really talented at copying somebody's signature. When they thought that somebody might be one of these people, what they would do is they'd have them write something, but they wouldn't just have them write it once because you could pretend to be someone else one time, 2 times, 3 times. They would have somebody, almost like when you got punished in school, they had to write the thing 50 times. And over time, you could see whether the person was bored or they just started getting in their head. Eventually, their true handwriting would show. And that's what we do when we get to know a person. After 3 months, you're like, look. There's a lot I didn't tell you about because I want you to stay. You ever been dating somebody and then 2 months and you're like, who is this person? It's like, no, this person is the person. I don't know. Sorry, you aren't dating who you thought. And so then you get all this talking. You get all this genuine quality time together, right? and I like this person, and so maybe this is my person, right? And how long would it take if all we did was talk, if all we did was really get to know each other? How long would it really take for us to fall in love with a person? Probably as long as production allows, you know what I mean? But like, but still, you see these people on this show, and within 9 days of being on the show and being in the pods, they're talking about I love you to this person that they've never seen, that they've never met, but they've talked so much. And a part of you thinks this person's dumb, this person's crazy. I don't think they are. I think if you got to do a deep dive into a person, you could find whether or not you like really loved everything about this person, how their mind works, their sense of humor, all the little push and pull that the relationship has, you know? And then they do the reveal, which is usually where things go awry. Because it's hard to get out of your own way, and it's hard to change your nature, especially in 9 days, right? And so then sometimes they do this reveal. If you never watched the show, they're in the pods, and they chat, and they chat, and they chat, and then people are picking each other as they're chatting. And you're really picking off a personality. You don't know what this person is like, you know? Sometimes you're watching the show, and you're like, these two look like they would go together in the real world, and they're not picking each other now. That's so interesting, right? Then they do the reveal. The reveal is like, they're across a hallway with this carpet and the doors open and they see each other for the first time. And, you know, a lot of times it goes great. They get really excited. Oh, I happen to be in love with a person who happens to be beautiful. What a bonus. And then sometimes you can tell, you can see it on the person that they're like, ooh. I am not blind. Because you gotta understand, whether you've watched the show or not, it must be a lot. It must be a lot to like have someone talking to you the way that they talk to each other. They are talking to each other the way that we imagine our great-grandparents talk to each other. Like before devices got involved, right? When you really had to miss someone. And you really got to know them. And you didn't even know that many people. You know? Your great-great-grandparents might have only known 200 people in life. And then they pick one of those people. So you're not even doing the same comparison stuff we do. We're spoiled for choice. Or at least the illusion of choice. Because we're like, no, I could get anybody. It's what you think. Because then you match with them and you're like, damn, okay. You know? And it's tough because dudes are the ones that fall for bots the most. We really are. Like, we get botted hard. Our friends will tell us it's a bot, and we'll be like, maybe. Maybe. Or maybe she's just into me. Maybe y'all just can't handle it. It's like, she keeps asking for your social security number. And for you to send her money through PayPal. Maybe she's going through a rough time, dog. I don't know. You ever thought of that? You ever thought about sometimes beautiful people are down on their luck? Because we all know it's beautiful people who never get anything for free. You know? But yeah, you see it. You see it on them, right? Because they were talking to each other so wild. I love you. They propose before they're allowed to see each other. You know what I mean? They propose in the pods. You propose to this idea of a person, someone that you think that you could love for the rest of your life, right? And they are talking to each other the way our great-great-grandparents talked to. I'm talking about Civil War love letter talking to each other. You know those old Civil War letters? You ever read some of them? Oh, it's astounding. Dear Jebediah. I miss you terribly. And I can't wait to once again feel the brush of your long beard upon my face. I hope and pray for the day that I see you on the horizon and know that you are home for good. Love, Magnolia. Like they would just be named after flowers back then for no reason. There's a bunch of roses and magnolias and tulips and stuff. And sometimes, I've read some of these letters and I've watched documentaries about, people that they've honed in on that we know the most about and everything. Sometimes those letters got nasty. Every once in a while, those letters... My dearest Magnolia. This war is a burden upon my soul. What keeps my fire alight is thinking of your warm embrace. I shudder to think if this letter is read by anybody but its intended. But know that your beloved keeps your handkerchief close by at all times. Your dearest Jebediah. With the long D. No, it's tough because they've said so many things to each other in these pods. They seem to mean them, right? Because that's the other thing you can suss out a little bit more. When you're not swayed by someone's looks, what they just say, what does that mean? And you can really talk the thing out, whatever it is, right? And they see each other, and sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes this engagement falls apart right after, soon after. Sometimes they, say no. I can't marry you, right? Watching this season, I don't know. Everything I'm saying applies to the entirety of the idea. So it's not about any one person or group or season. It's just like that idea, like what happens if we get out of our own way, But it's also hard because this is my thing about that show, is that by and large, every season of it I've seen, they are picking pretty good-looking people. Do you know what I mean? Like they're picking people who these are gorgeous people, right? They have yet to pick someone that I'm really like, Is nobody gonna tell them? Do you know what I mean? This is where I lose you. Okay. I just want there to be like one season, because what happens is, and they've like done whole survey studies, they've interviewed people who've studied relationships, have talked about this stuff for a very long time, right? I'm not just saying, oh, trust me, it's science. I'm saying like you can look it up for yourself. When it comes to like long-term relationships, right? Relationships that are supposed to last to the end of your life, let's say you get married in your 30s, right? That they found that like women are, by and large, better partners to have, right? And it's because of the things that nurture a relationship are the things that women are usually the ones doing, right? Not saying there aren't great boyfriends and husbands out there. I'm just saying that like usually what upholds and keeps a relationship going is like some of the action, some of the planning, some of the thinking of the women in those relationships, okay? And this isn't to paint anyone as an angel either. I know relationships end for all sorts of reasons. It's just that like we all have our preferences, right? Every single one of us. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, We all have our you might want the person that you end up with, no matter who you date, no matter who you love, to at least have like a head. That would be nice. A head would be nice. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not trying to... You would assume they have a head. And then as long as they have a head, there might be things that you like about the face on that head. And then you pick and you pick and you pick and you find the people, whatever. But just sometimes Whenever people are in a noble pursuit, how they get there is not always questioned because the pursuit is noble, right? And so because so many people are trying to find their forever person, the ways in which that they are shallow sometimes don't get addressed as much because the overall pursuit is noble, right? It's much easier to come down on someone who's just like hardcore participating in like hookup culture for being shallow because we can just cast away the whole idea as trashy, right? But when someone's looking for like long-term love and they're being shallow, it's just kind of harder to call them out because they're looking for their forever person anyway, right? So it's just one season of Love is Blind. I would just love if they do the regular show. You can even pick all the good-looking people that you want. That's fine. Just pick all good-looking people. And I want good dudes, by the way, real good dudes. Like good dudes where you do the research. He volunteers and he donates to the charities and he taking care of somebody sick. Really good dudes, right? But then when they do the reveal, right, and the doors open and they're standing across from each other, I just want every single one, every one of those dudes to be short. That would be great. That would be fire. That would be so good. And I don't mean short as in like 5'8". I don't mean regular height, but calling them short because your friends are tall. I'm talking about cartoonishly short. I want these dudes, I'm talking about the 4'11s of the world. I want these dudes to be so excited and so little that when they're running to their bride, they really got to do that step. You know what I'm talking about? You know when somebody real short, they need the extra steps, and so and she just, and they meet up in the middle, and they propose before they get to see each other. Sometimes they propose again as soon as they meet each other, right? You know, they propose, and since the beginning of the show, she's been saying, I just want to find love. Okay. Found him. He go to propose. He ain't got a kneel. No, just really test it. See if his love is blind.
I finally started taking more stands in my life. I don't go to the zoo anymore. You know what I mean? I can't do it, you know? It's like, you're not even seeing the animal. Like, that's not the animal. It doesn't know how to fight. It doesn't know how to hunt. It just is the most domesticated version of the animal. They just throw food at it all day. That's not a lion. Have you ever seen a zoo lion roar? It can't even roar. It's like, rawr, I guess. Like, it has no confidence. It's never had a struggle in its life, you know? If a zoo lion and me saw a lion from the wild, we would run together. Okay? Not the same speed, but the same direction. That zoo lion would be like, he's from the streets! No? That's why I don't care. You know? That's why I don't care when people die at the zoo. Really? That's the lion that killed you? The Urkel of lions is the lion the Sheldon of lions is the lion that killed. It didn't even mean to kill you. Zoo animals never mean to kill the person. They just slapped you and were like, the meat's not coming out of this one. I have no idea what's it's. He's being difficult. You know? Plus, honestly, most of us have been to the zoo. And we're here now. Which means we made it. Like, we're clearly not losing any scholars at the zoo. No one who has died at the zoo has ever started a sentence with therefore. Like, we're not losing the best. I can't judge anybody though, because I am truly embarrassed about how much I'm still finding out about the world. You know, like at a certain point, you'd like to feel like an adult and I know things, I have a base of knowledge and I move from there, but that's not the case. I'm learning things every day. This next thing, look, I didn't know. Okay? I did not know. Please don't get mad at me. I had no idea. I had no idea that there were people in this world, the volume and frequency of men in this world, taking a picture of their penis and just sending it to women. I had no idea how it's happening every hour of every day all over the world. They didn't ask for the picture. They don't want the picture, and they can't unsee the picture, you know? But I found this out because it hit close to home. Because you ladies do a thing as well, where you'll go out, maybe it's by yourself or maybe it's with your friends. You'll go out and you'll meet a guy and you don't really like him. You know what I mean? Like maybe there's no connection, there's no chemistry. You guys just aren't clicking. I don't know what it is, but you don't really like him. So at the end of the night, he asks you for your number. And you give him your number, but you give him one number off. You give him one number wrong, okay? Maybe it's the first number, maybe it's the last number. It's just not your number. I know that because I've been that number. For a period of 6 months, there was some random woman out in the world giving strange men my number. And for a period of 6 months, I was receiving penises in my phone. It was terrible. I'd wake up in the morning, thank the Lord for a new day. And then I'd do what we all do. I'd roll over and I'd check my phone. See what's going on in the world. See who's thinking about me. And there would be penises in my face. One of the most distressing things about this is that it wasn't even like, hey, what's up? It's Mark from last night. Penis. It was just straight to the penis. Like, not even seeing it, who I am, you know? Not even seeing how my day is going. I lived in fear of my own phone. My phone would buzz and I would pray there weren't two penises in my pants. It was so many that honestly I had to figure out what the plural for penises was. And I decided on penises. But I think I've got to stop. I think I got to stop. And this is actually a tip for you ladies if you want to use it. If you want men to stop sending you unsolicited pictures of their penis, all you need to do is what I did, which is send a picture of a penis back. They will not know what to do. They'll be terrified. No one is less prepared to receive a picture of a penis than a man that just sent a picture of a penis to what he thought was a woman. They'll be terrified. There's actually one where if you look at the text chain, it's just a picture of a penis, a picture of my penis, and then him going, Stephanie? Well, it's hurricane season again. This happens every year. Every year, hurricane season hits 5 major states in the U.S. the hardest. And every year, there are people who refuse to evacuate, and then they die for no reason. Now, these are also 5 states with the highest frequencies and most outlandish cases of discrimination. So I think I figured out how to save these people. If you want to get these people to evacuate, you need to stop naming hurricanes boring white people names. And name them something that these people will actually be terrified of, you know? No one's scared of Hurricane Bobby. I know Bobbies. Bobbies are delightful, okay? The Bobby I know, he bring brisket to brunch. He is amazing. He would never do those things that the news said he was gonna do in my neighborhood. You wanna scare these people, you need to get on the news like, Tropical Storm Black Son-in-Law is coming down the Florida Panhandle. It's a tropical storm now, but it could graduate to a Category 5 mixed grandbabies. You know what I mean? Like, you want to get people, truly, you want to get people to get out of Georgia. You can't be like Hurricane Sebastian. Sebastian doesn't even sound like he would hurt anybody. Sebastian sounds like the worst thing that he do is roast you about the wallpaper. You know what I mean? He doesn't sound like he's gonna rip the roof off. You're gonna have to be like, Hurricane Woman President is coming, whether you like it or not. She's headed here. Hurricane Irma. I'm pretty sure Hurricane Irma was one of the least evacuated hurricanes of all time. They didn't even respect her, you know? Because honestly, Irma sounds like she one fall away from not being a hurricane anymore. You want to get these people out of Texas, you need to be like, Hurricane Mexican immigrant millionaire. I need to make a confession to you guys. I can't see very well. I have bad eyes. My eyes are very dumb. I might as well have 2 feet where my eyes are. That's how useful my eyes are. I actually went to the optometrist, and he sat me down, and he put the thing in front of my face. I don't know what it's called, but it's the thing from the Justin Timberlake album where he like put it in front of, and then he was like, better, worse, better, worse. I was like, oh, it's all bad. Yeah. And he was like, better, worse. I was like, can't you just tell me? He's like, I can't tell you, I don't have your eyes. Just try, better, worse. I was like, none of it's good. And then he put his hands on his knees and exhaled, walked out, and then his nurse walked in and said he rescheduled, and he never did. So my optometrist ghosted me. So my eyes are still very bad. I tell that story because I was getting a smoothie. I was getting a smoothie at a Julius Caesar. It's a smoothie place. Actually, you know what? It's not Julius. It's Orange Julius. But I couldn't see the sign well until very recently. Someone told me it wasn't Julius Caesar. Either way, I was there, right? I was there, and they put the name of the smoothie in big letters, and they put all the ingredients in little letters. So then I was leaning forward on the counter as far as I could. My stomach was on the counter. I was leaning just to see what was in one of the smoothies that I might like, right? So then the cashier, she's turned around, she's bent over, she's doing something with supplies. So I'm leaning over the counter as much as I can. But then she stands up, she turns around, and we're nose to nose. And then she limboed on me. She leaned back as far as she could. And I wanted to explain to her, ma'am, I wasn't trying to kiss you, all right? I have very bad eyes. I actually went to the optometrist. He put the thing in front of my face. I don't know what it's called, but it's the thing from the Justin Timberlake album. But I didn't want to explain all that, so I was just like, I don't love you, and walked away. This is very embarrassing to admit, but when I was a kid, all the way up until like young adulthood, I thought that I could see the future. And then I realized I just had common sense. Yeah, I mean, like I'll give you my best example. I had a friend from Chicago call me, and he told me he got his girlfriend pregnant by accident. And I was like, oh, dude, I knew you were going to do that 3 years ago. And he was like, how? How is that possible? I've only known her for a year. And I was like, oh, bro, I knew you were going to do that when I saw you walking around with no case on your phone. Like, I knew you weren't thinking ahead. You weren't taking precautions. You were living reckless, you know? You don't have a case on your phone. Of course you're not wrapping it up. Come on, just walking around loose phone all day. I've also been thinking a lot about the concept of karma, because we misuse the term karma, you know? Like, I was in Chicago, and I was in the South Side, like the hundreds, and I got robbed. And then I saw the guy that robbed me get robbed 1 block down. That's amazing, but that's not karma. You know, I knew a kid in school that his favorite pastime was just making fun of fat people. That's all he did, all the time, nonstop. It was like he did it even in front of people. It was to the point where I couldn't hang out with him anymore, you know? And obviously this thing is coming from like an insecurity that he had. So then he got a little bit older. He started working out and everything to the point where he got yoked, like prison ripped. You know what I mean? Like just terrifying, right? And he got so ripped top to bottom. But in the middle section, he had 3 abs. How? Like they're supposed to come in a pack of 6. You're 3 light. That's hilarious, but that's not karma. Karma's about what you did in a past life and, you know, how you handle it in the next life. And burning off your karma has a lot to do with reincarnation and coming back, having many lives and many forms, you know? Because I had a situation with this guy. I was hanging out with my friends and he bumped into me really hard. And it was just the point where I said something. I was like, hey, calm down. There's no fire or anything, you know? And then he got in my face and he wanted to fight me. And it was wild. I was just like, I don't want to fight anybody. It's just you bumped into me and you didn't say anything, you know? And he's nose to nose with me. And he's like, why don't you just go eat some chicken or something? Which, like, that's a weird one. You know what I mean? Like, that's about as awkward as it is racist. You know what I mean? Like, it was to the point where I felt bad for him. I was like, do you want to try one more time? Or like, it actually makes me confident that he's not a racist. A racist would know what to do in this situation. You know? But I've been thinking, if karma is real, and reincarnation is real, and you are a racist, then I hope that you die. I hope that you die and you're reincarnated as a chicken. I feel like it's the only way to fix this racism. Because yes, you'll be racist, you'll die, you'll come back as a chicken, I will fry you. I will fry you personally, okay? You'll be delicious. I'll tear meat from bone. And it's not just chicken, honestly. It's like all the poultry can get it. Every land bird, you know? All of them. Roosters are the most racist. We never talk about it, but they are. You know, roosters wake up racist. Every day they wake up, they see the sun before us, and they're like, nit, 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 ah! That's every day. And we act like we don't hear it, but it's right there. Every time I hear the nit, 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 ah! You Confederate bastard. You're gonna get your day.